Well, here we are. It is Friday. Let's see, what's the date today? April 28th, 2023. And this, of course, is Friday, the Friday video. We do them each week. We talk about what's been going on eBay, other auctions that are coming up around the world, some auction results, and so forth, and things that are happening around here and on the Bidamount site. As we move along. A couple of things I want to go over before we get started and taking a look at some auction results and whatnot is first off, I want to mention that we added this week to the catalog section over on the research page. We all know how to get there. You just go to the home page and click the catalog and book link. There's one on the front page of the site too, obviously, that a lot of you use. It's over here. Let's see, right there, let the page load. Down here, books and catalogs. This catalog just got added, the bottom sale, happening at Knightsbridge in London on the, what is this, the 15th and the 16th of May. It's a good-looking sale. There's a bunch of good material in here. And as always with bottoms, they have things that are going to be, you know, in the low thousands and even the hundreds perhaps, and up to much higher numbers. One of them is the cover lot here, this late Ming Dynasty jade sensor. I think it's got a very low estimate of $10,000 or $15,000. It'd probably do much better than that, but check it out. Check it out. It's a good-looking sale. We'll talk about it more at a later date, but I just wanted to let everybody know the catalog is there, and feel free. All right, now a couple of other things I wanted to mention too. Brunks on the global member pages has just put up another sale. As you know, we covered a couple of Brunks auctions in the past that have done so well. They've been interesting. They actually get real estates with real collectors. They don't sell, you know, they don't encourage the sale of fakes and copies. I like the way this company runs very, very much. I think they do a heck of a good job. And this is just some of the material that's coming up. A lot of armorial wares. They apparently got some things from a collection down in their neck of the woods that bought from London dealers, major dealers in Europe and so forth. So Heirloom and Howard and all those people. So you want to check that out. There's some nice things there. There's some really nice things. One of them is this very famous patterned, one of these elephant dishes with the white enamel work around the, so they call it pot sur pot. In the West, white enamels, and then famille rose decoration. It's a good-looking plate. It's got a modest estimate. We've seen these in the past sell for considerably more than the estimate. This is one that's estimated at $500 to $800. The sale is in 20 days. You got plenty of time to check it out. In the past, we've seen these plates sell for $1,200 to $1,800, $2,200, that kind of thing. So I think there's an opportunity here. Obviously, the reserve is below 500, which is the low estimate. So you got a shot. You get a shot at it. And the other thing is this. This is one of the nicest Yongchen teapots I've seen in a long time, or early Qianlong examples. In spectacular condition, absolutely spectacular condition. They're dating it to 1755. I'm not quite sure. There must be some records on it because it looks very Yongchen to me. But it was bought from Angela Howard of Heirloom and Howard Limited, and they are, of course, the legendary dealer in London for many, many years. Researchers focusing specifically on high-end export wares, armorial wares for the European market, and so forth. They've published books identifying all of the heraldic motifs used and so forth. So you want to, you know, they have all the armorial crests in their books and everything. It's very worth getting. If you don't have the book, I urge you to get it. But this is going to be a nice sale. And the estimate, again, on this is very, very low. $800 to $1,200, $400 opening bid. This teapot should bring $2,500 to $3,500, but we'll see. But it's a wonderful thing, and there's a lot of items in here, and I think it really does present an opportunity to get some things that aren't being overestimated and overvalued. And when you look through it, you'll see, when you look at the estimates, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I think there's a great opportunity here. If you're a collector of high-end China trade items, especially items from the 18th century, do check it out. All right, now, what's been happening over here? before I get into the auction results, I've had a lot of inquiries this week about this particular seller on eBay. I've had them in the last month. I've talked about it before. I'm going to go back and I'm going to circle back and explain why people have been writing me. This is the seller, W. Wolst 12 store, and they are down in Rhode Island. They are general antique dealers. They sell on eBay. And for a long time, they sold good things. They got interesting things out of local estates, and they seem to be going along a pretty good path. And then sometime about a year and a half ago or so, 2 years ago, I can't remember exactly when, they began offering mark and period copies, and lots of copies, lots of good-looking copies, and getting serious money for it. Not what the items would be worth if they were authentic, but still thousands of dollars. And they, for example, they have this, this sold in March, is this underglazed red mallet vase, it's Kangxi style, and they've got it, they got $6,600 for the thing. And then this small antique porcelain Jun Kiln Yuan Dynasty bowl. It's not, in my opinion, these things are all new. And I don't know what they're doing. This Ming Dynasty Zhuande Marken period, a flat bottle. Of course, it isn't authentic. Here are just some of the examples. There was this. They advertised it as an 18th century Qing Dynasty Kangxi marked, and they declare that in their write-up that it's age maker Kangxi period 1662 to 1722. It's obviously it's an obvious fake and a copy. It is not from the Kangxi period. It appears by the overall appearance of it that it was made sometime during the last 30 or 40 years. Were it authentic, it would have brought much more than $5,300. But the point is that enough people are falling for it that they're spending money on this stuff, and people keep writing me asking me why I don't put them in the newsletter, and I don't put Woolworths in the newsletter anymore. Occasionally, if they get a piece of legitimate rose mandarin or something that looks okay, we would, but it's hard to justify recommending them to buy from when they sell this kind of stuff that are all such blatant copies. And it's a fairly endless list. Lang Yao string. This is a Kangxi marked. For example, this vase here. This is a very part of a very famous series of. Originally, the originals were very famous. The seven peach bloom forms done during the Kangxi period, and these vases in this style, this type of vase, if they're authentic, sells for way into six figures. Okay, $500,000 even. And this one sold for $3,250 because a couple of people believed that it was old. And there it is. And you don't need to look at it very long to recognize instantly that the foot rim on this is wrong, the way the mark is done is wrong. The glaze is too glossy. The string, these are called string vases. The potting is slightly off on it. It's not, the proportions or the body to the neck aren't quite right. And the string lines around the middle are much too exaggerated and so forth. But, and it's got this white blossoming area on the back that just doesn't look right, no matter how you look at it. But somebody paid $3,250 for it, okay? And all I can say is just stop buying this stuff because you're going to be very, very disappointed down the road if you ever go to sell it. This is not a Ming dish. They sold it as a Ming dish, I believe. Ming Dynasty, Zhuande Marken period, $1,450. Obviously, it isn't. It's just a ridiculous thing. It's just ridiculous. But people that are getting into collecting, that are new at it, will look at things like this or this Ming marked iron red stem cup, and they think it looks okay because the foot looks a little worn. Well, they can make feet look very old. They know how to do it, and somebody paid $4,950 for it. If this were authentic, of course, it would be in the high six figures at any of the major auction houses and so forth. And there's the Zhuande Marken period flask, and these are fantastically rare and are worth up into the millions of dollars if they're authentic. And somebody shelled out $5,300 to get this one. So this is just clear it off the table. This is Woolworths 12 in where are they located? In Cumberland, Rhode Island. Yeah, they sell other antiques, American antiques, that are fine. Go ahead, but just until they get their act together and stop selling this stuff, I would just avoid them altogether, and you won't be seeing them in the newsletter page. Okay, that's my little lecture for the day. And it always goes back to fakes. It's really disturbing. All right, and this is one of the things. This just sold this morning, and it brought a lot of money. I didn't put it in the newsletter last week because I thought it was a much later thing. They dated this as 19th century, and I don't think it is. This looks like a Republic period piece at the oldest, and one of them was damaged. And somehow it brought $13,091. Nonya Straits material, as you know, is very, very popular. I have no idea why these brought this much money. Makes no sense to me. But if somebody out there knows, enlighten me. I would love to hear the reason. Because to me, these look like they were probably worth $400 or $500. So I don't know what's going on there. And then over here, there was some good results on eBay last week, though. Let's look at some of those. One of them was this early 1900s a robe with the rondelles with cranes on them. This was a very nice robe. It was beautifully done. They dated it as early 19th century. I think it might be actually a little older than that by maybe 30 or so years. But it was a beautiful example. I think they were being just maybe trying to be a little conservative in the dating. Nobody ever complains if something is older than they thought it was when they first bought it. But if it's any newer, they're going to complain. So this seller obviously, this thing was in beautiful condition. Look at the condition of this thing. No fading, no tears, no nothing. It was very, very good condition. People are happy to take something that's older 99.9% of the time. And this was a nice one. And it had 57 bids and brought $10,000. And this was from a seller down in North Carolina, the Rochester's Thrift Shop. Apparently, it sounds like a consignment thrift store down in let's see, St. Paul's, North Carolina. I don't know where St. Paul's is, but at any rate, it's a nice robe. Somebody got a really good robe in beautiful condition. And then over to this was the little Ming Dynasty bronze arrow vase. It has the little side pipes on the side. They've made these for centuries, going back to the Han Dynasty. But this is a probably an early Ming one. Nicely done. It's got some discoloration on the body, but it brought $680. I think if the patina was in better shape, it would have brought more money, but it was kind of scuffed up. But it was still a legitimate example and worth owning. All right, now moseying along over to here. We talked about these last week because this is Arthur Potts had this up. I like it when Arthur Potts puts things up. He's over in Dorset in the UK. He had some interesting lots up last week, and he was pairing up teapots with tea caddies. Yeah, apparently he's got a shelf full of them, and these were nice. These were a couple of nice examples right here. Both made around 1780 or so. Good decoration, and they appear to be in nice condition all the way around. And somebody bought. I think this was a good buy for someone. Someone picked up both of them for $650 US. So figure 300 for the 300 or so for the tea caddy and 300 quarter for the teapot, and they both are in what they look like very good condition. The tea caddy had a couple of chips out of its cover, but as you all know, 99% of the time when you see these tea caddies, the covers are long gone. So not a bad thing at all. I thought this was a nice buy. These are this teapot is quite refined, gilded handle, gilded spout, most of it intact. And overall nice condition, $650. And then if you didn't get that one, you get this Kangxi Amari tea caddy with a teapot. The caddy, as I recall, had a flake out of the bottom here, a fissure in the bottom or a crack. Here, this looks like a piece that broke out and they reattached it, restuck it, as they say. But the teapot looked pretty good. And this is a nice bit of Amari work, Kangxi period, nice blue and white decoration, nice red and gilt enameling. And I think this was also a great buy because this is a very early teapot. And somebody bought both of them for $315. And this brings me back to the thing I say all the time. Leave a bid, for heaven's sakes, leave bids. This is how you get things. I got a call, not a call, but an email from somebody this week and an inquiry A fellow just decided just to leave a bid at some auction, and he ended up getting the piece on a single bid of less than $100 for a very nice thing that was probably worth around $700. So it does happen. All right, now, excuse the phone ringing in the background. Somebody will grab it. All right, now, over here is another robe that sold. This one sold for $4,516, a dragon robe. It looked like there was maybe a little bit of fading or something in the silk. A little bit dirty. Oh, not so much fading, just a little bit dirty, perhaps. This was a perfectly good robe. It had some splits on it. I think I had a couple of inquiries about this robe, and I think we told the people to bring 4,000 or 5,000, and it did. It did. This coloring is a little strange, but it's a perfectly nice robe. All the way around. It's a late 19th century one. I like the dragons on the closure flap there, and very, very nice. And I think this was a relatively good buy, $4,516. All right, and so because we've seen in the past with some of these dragon robes, they bring 8,000 or 10,000. And then over to this was artsonsunlink.net, Mark Wahlberg's, the seller. He's over in Sunbury, Pennsylvania. He had a bunch of snuff bottles up last week. He had some nice ones. They must have gotten into a collection or something. He gets a lot of collections from what I understand. And he had this very nice sort of peach bloom glaze snuff bottle with a Mei-ping form. Nice even glaze on it all the way to the bottom. Good looking base on it. There it is, a little bit of grunge and dirt in there. Clearly a 19th century example. Very nicely done. And somebody picked it up, I think, pretty good price. $437 for a good, well glazed, nicely potted Mei-ping snuff. I think this was a nice one, a good-looking one. If you're a snuff bottle collector, keep your eye on Arts on Sunlink because if he gets a good collection, he'll put it up on eBay. He has a good following. All right, and then another thing that was a sort of a bargain of the week was this. This was a lovely little bronze, and they had dated it as 18th century, and I don't think it was. I think this was a later Ming bronze, judging by the surface and the way it's modeled. This doesn't look 18th century to me at all. It looks very much to be 16th century. And it was just a charming little pendant or weight of some kind. Put it on your table. Figure of a man and a boy, and he's got a snake. Somebody picked this up for $48, all right? When was the last time you saw a Ming bronze sell for $48? Now, it may be because he dated it 18th century and it kept some people away. But often on eBay and other sites, you'll see bronzes that are either misdated to the high side or to the low side. Happens all the time. This was one of those cases where I put it in the newsletter because it was older than the date declared by the seller. If it's newer than the date declared, I generally don't put them in. But if it's older, I say, yeah, absolutely, put it in there. Somebody might get a great deal. Somebody got a great deal. This was a bargain. This was a steal. I think had it been advertised more accurately, it probably would have sold for $250 to $350. It's a nice little bronze, sweet little thing. It had its original surface on it. And then there was this, some Chinese famille rose porcelain wares, 2 plates in this nifty little container. And this is a style of plate that was done primarily in the first half of the 19th century. And they made these, this was a pattern that they used on export wares. They used it on export wares to Europe, but mostly they used it on export wares to India and the Middle East. And the seller said possibly for the Islamic market. It could be for the Islamic market. It could be for the Indian market. But it was a nice pair of plates. One of the plates had a chip out of the rim of it, but it had this cool little pot, this little bell-formed pot with a lid. And I liked that a lot. I thought that was a pretty good thing. And it looks to be like it was in pretty good condition. There's a reflection there. That's not a crack. But a rather unusual form. Sort of like a little oil jar, a table jar, a spice jar of some kind. And I think that was worth what they paid for the whole lot. The whole lot went for just $143. And again, I think it was a very, very good buy. And I think maybe what kept people away from it maybe was the chip out of one of the plates, or they didn't understand it. It didn't have any calligraphy on it. Often pieces made for the Islamic and Indian markets and so forth, they put script on them. There's some writing. There's no writing on these, but it's a pattern clearly known to be associated with those 2 areas of the world as far as China trade goods go. All right, now over here to this, the bowl we talked about. I liked this bowl a lot. It had a little hairline in it, a little bit of damage, but it had a rather nice composition of underglazed blue, very nice underglazed blue. This was a beautiful shade of blue, and it had an old staple repair in the side that we talked about, which didn't bother me at all, and so forth. But it was an interesting example, and had this sort of iron red decoration added to it, and then this cartouche with Chinese figures. The pattern and the way it's done points to it having been done around 1780, and I think somebody got a good buy. $291 US. 35 shipping to the U.S. if you're here and that's what you bought it from over there. Not unreasonable at all. So it came out to about $320 for the bowl. It was I believe it was a 10-inch bowl, just about 10 inches, 26 centimeters. Very nice little bowl, really sweet bowl, not overpriced, not bad at all. And then this was the this armorial export ware. They had dated it, and they had misdated as 1780, but I put it in because I think everybody recognizes that this bowl was most likely made in the 1720s or 30s. But beautifully decorated with the fish pattern. I love the fish all over this. And then you have figural landscapes wrapping around it. The gilding was in good shape. The armorial mark on it was in good condition. And apparently a lot of people liked it. It sold for $728. But it was armorial, had an unusual pattern, and I'm sure a few people looked up that crest and figured out who it was and how many pieces from this set have been around, and they went after it. And there you go. All right. And over to these. These did really well. This pair of 18th century trumpet vases. I looked at these last week, and I thought, well, they'll bring $800 to $1,000, something like that. They're very nice. They were sort of big ones. Beautifully decorated. Now, it is true that a lot of people have other parts of this same garniture out there. They might have the covered jars, for example, that match these and are about the right size, and you buy these, now you have the trumpet vases. So that may be what drove it. I don't know. But these ended up selling for $1,770, which was a fairly strong price. Now, I'm not criticizing them because they look to be in very, very nice condition, and the gilding was pretty much all intact on them. The enamels looked good, and they were well painted, so that goes a long way. But I thought the price was a little bit steeper than I would have thought, but who knows? Who knows these days? You can't, the export wares are starting to do better and better all the time. And then over to this, the engraving print of the Emperor Qianlong. It ended up selling for $342. It's an 18th century engraving. There he is. It was when was this published? It's 1792, I think. 1796. There we go. So it was right at the end of his life. But a nice thing. Somebody will get this framed. It'll look wonderful hanging on a wall because it's a very nice engraving. Beautifully done. Very detailed. It's got a bit of foxing on the back. If I bought this, I'd probably send it out to a paper store and have them neutralize that foxing. But this was a nice print. This was a really, really nice print. It was a little trimmed along the edge, but that's pretty typical when these are cut out of books and so forth. $342 for the print. I think when we looked at it last week, I think, wasn't it like 12 or 15 bucks or something? I hope one of you bought it because it's a nice thing, very interesting thing. And on the Japanese side of thing, they had this. This was a rather confusing title: Rare Antique Arita Ken Qianlong Japanese Edo Blue and White Charger. I think there's a little keyword spamming going on there. This was if it's Edo, it's very late Edo. Most likely it was a Meiji period, but it was a very interesting shaped ring bowl with a dragon on one side and a horse on the other. One of my favorite subject matters on Chinese. I love horses, but all these different border patterns and so forth. And here's the back of it. Again, like I said, late Edo to Meiji. It looks Meiji to me from what I'm seeing, but somebody could argue about it. It's got the apocryphal Qianlong mark on the bottom and so forth. But this was a nice piece of Arita ware, it really was, and it shows you how well when you could think about the Chinese wares that were in the blue and white that were being done in the 1850s to 1870s, and then you look at how refined this work is relative to that work. I think it's, you know, in most cases by far superior. I think it's really, really good and represents a very good buy. Somebody paid $392 for this plate, and it was, how big was it? It was good size, 36 centimeters wide, so it was about 14 or 15 inches in diameter. Nice looking piece of porcelain. Very nice and not overpayment at all. Not, $300, $400 for this is not an overpayment. If it went for $650 or $700, I wouldn't have been at all surprised, because to a collector, this has got a lot of nice elements to it, and it's beautifully done. All right, now over here to this thing. We had talked about these sort of unusual 18th century China trade armorial dishes. There was this covered bowl with this armorial crest on it, and this ended up selling for $399, which I think was a bargain. I got to be honest here. I think this was a really, really good buy. It only had 3 bids. And I think part of the problem is that this is such an unusual looking piece of blue and white, as is this piece. Here's a platter of the same pattern. It's an 18th century service, late 18th century, very nice quality, beautifully done. I don't see anything wrong with it at all. And I think that it's just that the pattern is so atypical. A lot of collectors just looked at it and went, "Oh, that's strange. I don't know. I've never seen that one before," because it is strange. It is unusual. But I think it was very successful in the drawing. Or maybe some people thought it was these were European. I don't know, because they all got just a few bids. I don't know the seller, Rocas, up in Canada and Alberta, but this was a nice service. And somebody got this giant platter for $550 rather. It was 18 inches by 15 inches, so this was a big piece. The price on this is a mystery to me because it's not a common pattern. And as I said, they had these other pieces, with armorial shields on them, and these sold reasonably. Also, $122 for both of them, and I think they were in pretty good shape. Condition. Okay, they had a couple of hairlines and minor glaze loss, but still, $122, $60 a piece for 18th century armorial wares with that beautiful, very European-looking decoration. They were obviously copying a model or something that was sent to them because it's stylistically very European-looking, very French or English or something like that. Some sort of device that they were sent to emulate in their work. But I think these were a great buy. And then lastly is the 23 centimeter 18th century blue and white punch bowl, and it looked like it had some clobbering done to it. The red that was added to it here, I think appears to be clobbered, appears to have been added later. That was sort of a thing that they did. Many of you know this, but I'll just say it. A lot of porcelain made in the 18th century that was shipped in particular to Holland and that part of the world. They had decorators there that would add, if they got a blue and white piece and they thought it would look better with a little color on it, or they wanted to sort of customize it, they would add enamels in Europe to the Chinese pieces and then sell them. And there was just recently an auction that had a whole bunch of clobberware, and it was rather interesting. And the stuff did pretty well. But here's a very nice punch bowl. This is a really sweet bowl, and they didn't overdo the clobbering. And it sold for just $693, which I think was a good buy. It was an 18th century bowl, and it appeared to be in great condition. So there's not much to complain about there. Nice looking thing. All right, and then what's coming up? We found a bunch of things that'll be on the newsletter page this week over on Bitamount. If you're familiar with it, you all know where it is. And I want to remind everybody, if you don't get the weekly email when we update the page every Friday, as most of you know, between 5 and 7 o'clock typically, somewhere in that range. We sometimes we're not always on target time-wise. But if you fill out this form on the newsletter page and you sign up, it's completely free. Just give us an email address. You can put any name in you want. Just make sure the email address is right. And as soon as we update the newsletter page, we send out a notice letting you know. And you can come and check out and see what we found. This was the stuff that was on here last week. There was quite a bit of material, as many of you know, and I think it'll be the same this week, but all different material, unless something was unsold that we have on the list that we've added that will go up there. All right, so do that, subscribe. It's free. We don't share mailing lists with anybody, and I get asked fairly often, can they rent our mailing list? And we've always said no. It's not something we can do. All right, now over here, 19th century export Mandarin vase with the Receptor handles. This is a pretty nice. He says in his write-up that it's had some professional restoration, and I've looked at this thing pretty carefully. I can't see it. He says it's very hard to see, but but he put a black light on it, and I think maybe some of the reflection on the vase, he according to the pictures, look like. I'm not sure that all of it is restoration. I think some of it's just reflection. But this is a nice 1830s to 1840s vase, in an unusual shape, and it's big. This thing is 17 inches tall. Very, very nice vase. This is our friend Matthew down in Marblehead at Room Tonic. And he's the one that I think has the most elaborate listings you've ever seen. If you're thinking of becoming an eBay seller and you want to know what a really great listing looks like, this is his listing for this one object. Lots of information, lots of photographs. It's quite exceptional. This is all the same listing. Information about what he does, his shipping policies, all that. It's all right there for you to see. And as a result, I think he's so... They provide so much information. I think that it gives people a lot of confidence, and they should. All right, and this has just gone up. It literally just went up last night, and it's only got a couple of bids. It should get up to $800 to $1,200 by the time it's over, but it's a good-looking vase. All right, and then over to this large antique square vase turned into a lamp. This looks like a late Qing to Republic example to me. I like the leaf form cartouche on the side with famille rose enamels. As I recall, it had it's been drilled in the bottom, obviously, because it's been made into a table lamp. But the decoration looks pretty good. And if I had to put an absolute date on it, it would be a little bit difficult. But my view is that it's late Qing, possibly early Republic period, but not a new thing. It's just got one bid, closes in 2 days. It should get up to, I think he started his opening bid was much too high. He should have started the opening bid on this at $5 or $10 to gain some traction and get some interest from other bidders. High opening bids hurt you. High opening bids hurt our sellers on eBay, because if eBay doesn't see their algorithms, the Cassini algorithm doesn't pick up immediate activity for days on end without bids, it doesn't get pushed. All right, the algorithm sort of buries it. So you want to get bids on something right away. As soon as it goes up, get some bids on there. And you do that by putting a low estimate. It builds you traction. People get to see the piece. They come back and look at the piece over and over and over again. And you do get a better result. A lot of people say, well, I don't dare because I don't want to lose money. I know people that feel that way. You don't lose money. And ask any successful eBay seller who does a lot of volume. Josh Chamberlain, Room Tonic, we were just looking at all these sellers. They start things very reasonably. Go look at their results. That's all you need to know. But it takes courage. It takes a little courage, but it does work. So that's important. All right, and this is a nice vase. I'm not knocking the vase. I think the seller got a little excited. That's all. And nice looking lamp. It's a great looking lamp. And if you were buying that lamp somewhere from a decorator shop or a nice antique shop, it would probably be $1,000 to $1,500. And right now it's got one bid. It's at $325. It should bring $600 or $800 at auction, but we'll see. And then over to this. Classic. This is Migolari has this. This is a classic 1780s punch bowl. You've seen them all before, but this is a really nice example. And the interior of it looks great, except it's got these cracks running through it. But it's a beautifully decorated bowl. I was sad to see them cracked. It's not in perfect condition, but visually it's very good. Because the enameling, it's always a little bit of a puzzle when you see a bowl that has a crack like that through the middle, but the enameling is all in such great condition. All right, so if you've always wanted to own one of these and you're not in a position to shell out, $800 to $1,200 for it, how big is the bowl? Is it 10 inches or so? 28, yeah, it's 28 centimeters, so it's a 10-inch bowl. If you're not in the position to shell out $800 or $1,200 for it, this is a nice bowl to buy. I'm going to bet it goes for $300 or $400. And it's very nicely decorated, and he's a good seller. He's honest. He'll get it out to you on time. And then over to this. This is another piece that he has up. This is a big vase. This vase is 60 centimeters, 23.6 inches, 19th century celadon ground, lots of gilding on it, lots of famille rose enameling. Very fine quality, though. Really nice work. You need to come and look at this thing. And it's big. It's just a smidgen under 24 inches tall, but very nice work. And it looks like some of the figures on here are in relief. Nice band at the bottom. I looked at the foot rim. It looks absolutely fine for 19th century. There it is here. It might have been repaired at one point from what I'm seeing here. It may have, this looks awfully white. It looks like maybe it had been drilled or something, and they restored the drill on the base. But the work on this is quite good. Oh, wait a minute, it's got a hairline in it. Hold on, I didn't see that before. There we go. All right, little less enthusiastic now. I'm going to keep it on the site. It'll stay there. But I didn't see that hairline through the body before, right there. All right, and it's got a restoration of the bottom. It's still a big vase. It's good looking. Still will probably sell for $800 to $1,200. If it wasn't damaged, this vase would probably bring $2,500 to $3,500. But I don't think it's going to get there now. Sorry about that. I didn't see that hairline down the side until I really looked at it carefully. I said look at it more carefully when I saw the bottom. There we go. But still a nice looking porcelain. But if you can pick it up for $700 or $800, it's still a good buy. It's a nice pot. And then this just showed up on radar in the last day or two. This is Trade Old. He's a seller in New York City and Buffalo. This is very nice Middle Eastern form Beijing enamel ewer. And it's quite big, as I recall. It was like 15 inches tall? 15.5 inches tall. There's a couple of other ones, but they're priced at $11,000, and they're not as nice. This is a much nicer one with cobalt ground, probably early 19th century. There's the decoration. I like it. There's got some minor flecks to it and so forth. But this is a nice piece of, if you like Beijing enamel, Peking enamels, and you like the adoption of Middle Eastern metal forms into Chinese art, that cross current of taste. This is a nice looking thing. This is a good looking thing. And it's only up to $650. It closes next Tuesday. So it should bring $600 to $800, but we'll see. But right now, it's got a restoration on the rim at the very top, but it's very small. I looked at it; it didn't look like much to me. You might get yourself a heck of a nice piece of Beijing enamel that way. Good looking pot. And then over to this is this very nice miniature Meiping, unusual iridescent glaze, early 19th century. I had actually looked at this. The seller here is sent me some pictures of this. He wanted to know what I thought of it. And he knew what it was. He did know what it was. I think he was just wondering if I agreed with him, and I did. This is a nice early 19th century miniature. And many of you remember a month or two ago the Bronx sale of the miniatures that had belonged to the New York auction house owner at the turn of the century. Had a bunch of these. Well, here's another similar one, and you all saw how well those did. This is a nice one. And I love the glaze on this, the iridescent glaze on this black body. I really like this. This is a very nice piece. I love the foot on it. And some people are going to argue that this is older, meaning 18th century. And it's not inconceivable because it's V-shaped, it's nicely trimmed, and it looks pretty good. It's up to $123. It's got a few days to go. Expect it to pop up at the end at $600 to $800, somewhere around there. But it may not. This is the seller, Austin McKenna, out in Arkansas. It's a very, very nice nice example, and he's got some other pieces up, so check his other listings. I didn't include them all. They'll all be on the newsletter page, but I'm not going to go through everything he has online. And then over to this. This is a seller I don't know much about, but it's a very nice late 18th century export mug with a serpent handle coming up. And you don't see these serpent handles very much, and if you do, they always seem to be damaged. This one is not damaged at all. This thing has been beautifully kept. If you look at how white and how clean and how nicely preserved the bottom of that is, I don't see any damage on it anywhere. Meticulously painted. If you like good early mugs, nice 18th century mugs, this is a good one. It's got 2 days to go, and why on earth is this just up to $4? That is very strange. I have no idea why. This should be up. This mug should bring $150 to $250, somewhere in there. So if you've been looking for a really great mug, come over to the newsletter page this week and put some bids on this thing. Otherwise, somebody's going to get the bargain of the year. It's a very nice, it's a really nice example, and it's not restored, which is very unusual for mugs these days, because often the handles are cracked, as we've seen so many times, and so forth. All right, and then over to this. This is the same seller that had that mug, has this very nice Kutching marked serpent handle teapot. I mean, a mug rather, jug. This is a good example. Nice figures on it. I think he got himself into a nice collection here by the looks of this mug collector. This is very nice, and it's by Kutching, who is a famous silversmith. You can look him up in the silver book that's over on the reference section. It's up to $465. I'm going to bet it gets up to $800 to $1,200 by the time this is all done, maybe more. It's got 2 days to go. It closes on Sunday. But if you collect Chinese silver, this is a really nice example by a very famous silversmith. So give it a shot. And let's see here. Is this robe been relisted? This robe looks like it was just this. Is this the robe that just sold? I didn't see this before. Who's the seller here? Something going on here. Did this thing get relisted? Rosat 978. Hold on, we got to go back and do a little looking here. Hold on. Okay, it would appear this sold 5 days ago, and somebody stiffed this guy, and it's back up again. So that's the price that it went for last week, $4,516, and it's been reposted for most likely for non-payment. Let's take a look, see if he said anything. Amazing, good luck. No bidding from China, thank you. Okay. That's apparently it sounds like he got stiffed by somebody in the mainland, and he's not accepting bids from Chinese bidders, or somebody from China won it and he's refusing to ship it. Sellers mean that when they say don't bid on it if you're in the mainland, because a lot of sellers have had too many negative experiences with non-payers or buyers on the mainland who get things and then they come back and they found a flea bite out of the foot, and they want, a 20% refund. And I think a lot of sellers have gotten sick of it, which is good if you're not in China, because you're going to have less competition. But the mainland, and it's not all mainland buyers. I've had some amazingly great mainland Chinese buyers, but they do have a disproportionate number of non-payers and hagglers post-sale. All right, and now this is that very interesting export watercolor on pith with the monkey and the figure. We talked about it last week. I just thought it was a fascinating thing, and apparently a lot of people think it's pretty fascinating because it closes on Sunday and it's up to $423. So it's gotten some interest, deserves it. It's a nice picture, especially if you're a pith buyer, you buy pith paintings. This is a sort of a rare bird. All right, and then lastly is this, and this is a really rare type of Yixing lined pewter teapot. This hourglass form with this very finely incised bird and pine branches on one side, and on the other side is calligraphy. Unfortunately, the liner is broken, but he did show a very good picture of it right in here. This is the Yixing. It's signed on the bottom. It has a Yixing clay liner. Hold on a second. If you can see it, there's the signature in the bottom right here. It's all signed, but it got damaged, and this happens a lot with these, and it's going to severely impact the price. Were it not for that, this would be a $2,500 to $3,500 teapot. With it, I suspect it'll bring probably a third of that. But it's still, if you like Yixing lined teapots and you love this form, it does have a jade handle and a jade spout and all that, and a jade finial on the top, but with inscription, it'll still do okay. It's up to, it's got one bid of $374. It's being sold by the Trinity Hospital Trading Limited. Sounds like another thrift store, charity that's selling this. So help out the charity if that's what it is. You can Google them and find out if they're a charity or not. But at any rate, Trinity Hospital Hospice. Oh, it's a hospice organization in the UK. All right, yeah. Whenever you see those, if they have something they want, give them a little help. Those places do tough work, and they need all the money they can get to do it. But this is a nice piece of pewter with a Yixing liner. It's not perfect, but it still has considerable value. And if you're a collector, you know exactly what it is, and you'll probably want to think about buying it. All right, and that pretty much covers it for the week. There's a lot of stuff been added to the global member pages this week. We've updated it, I think, 4 times. A couple times we didn't even date that we updated it, but we did. We removed things that sold and added things back. We're going to update it again tomorrow, and there's a ton of stuff on there. And if you're a subscriber, check it out. There's a lot of stuff now in the U.S. in particular, and there's quite a bit of material coming in on the EU side. So depending on what country you're in, I know if you're in the U.S., you probably don't want to buy it over in Europe because it's a little bit of a pain to get it shipped, and vice versa. So we try to keep plenty of things for both countries, both sides of the Atlantic on there. And I think that about covers it. All right. If you had a good time here, leave a comment. Give us a thumbs up if you like the videos. Thumbs up help us a lot in the algorithms. Subscribe if you haven't already, and come over to bidamount.com if you're looking to look up things, do some research, and so forth. And have a wonderful weekend. Spring is here. It is 55 degrees here right now. The sun is out, and all the fog burned off. We had a very foggy morning this morning. It was pea soup outside for a while, and it's gone. Anyway, we'll see you all next week, and we're going to be doing an interview with an interesting dealer in the UK next week. We'll probably put it up. We're going to do the interview on early Friday. We'll work on it and get it put together over the weekend. We'll probably put it up a week from Monday, and I think you'll enjoy it. All right. See you all soon. Bye-bye.